Hello and welcome to challenge day 2. So today we are doing a challenge looking at composition. So we've looked at why we take a photo and what story we might be telling or what it might mean, whether it's a good photo or not. And today we are now, let's just checking that we're going live. It should be, yes, there we are. So hi guys, let's just check that this is working. So I should be able to see the comment, and then, so if any of you decides that you want to comment during the chat and you happen to come on here live at the same time, what you can do, I'll try and schedule tomorrow's one for you. You can allow StreamYard. Now in the top of the post, the description, it says you have to allow StreamYard to see your profile if you want your photo and your name to show up. Otherwise, it just shows up and looks a bit like a blank one. It just says Facebook user and has an empty picture. So there we go, on to day 2. So what is framing? Now framing is what you see through the viewfinder of your camera. And so let me use this as an example, because the joys of live view. I can frame this up so that it can see me, or I can put it so I can change it so that we've got more window in there. I can move it round so that we have more background in there. So that is framing. It's what is inside the frame of the photo. Put that back away. Now, the photo itself is what we show people, the digital thing that we upload. But what we have framed is what is within the whole photograph. So it's the whole photograph. So on this screen just here, the frame is it's landscape, which means it goes left to right. It's long. If it's portrait, it means it goes up and down, because traditional portraits were framed in the horizontal, the vertical, in the vertical. But then we moved to cameras, which were all set this way. And we got used to seeing this way with TV screens and so forth. We got used to seeing the sort of the long and the thin, the landscape. And then phones came about and we hold them upright, don't we? We hold our phone. I don't have a phone to hand because I'm filming with it. Yay! But imagine this is a phone. We hold it upright in our hand like this, and we're looking at it, taking a selfie and so on. So we got used to seeing really long, thin photos. And then things like Instagram came out on other apps online, and we started seeing in square. Now, photos used to be in square back in the day as well. So choosing whether you want horizontal, a landscape photo, which is really good when you've got big scenery, when you're taking a picture of like the sunset over the hills and the trees, and you've got the river at the bottom and the sky at the top. Landscape photos are good that way around. People photos, we are tall and thin. You take a photo of us this way, then you're just going to get like you've got here, my head and my shoulders, but you take a photo of me vertically and you'll get the whole of my body, and you'll be able to see my legs. You'll be able to see my legs as well as my head. They're currently missing on this one, but that's why portrait works quite well. It also works well if something's tall, like a building, a tree, or like those orchids that you took a photo of. Who was that who did that? That was Elijah. Yeah, perfect. So that was a landscape. That wasn't a landscape. That was a portrait vertical photo because the orchids were tall. So, and then sometimes you might want to do square. Now, square will work if you have an app on your phone or your computer that will crop the photo. It's called cropping. Let me just type that out so you can see what the word is. Okay. There we go. Crop. So you crop your photo. Crop your photo. Now, if you have an app, I will list a few in a bit that work well on iOS and work well on Android. I don't know what you use or what your mum or your dad uses, or on your computer. You can get some free apps that will do this for you, so you can have square photos. If you have Instagram, it has it built in. So there's also photo editing apps that aren't linked to the internet that are just for your own photos. In fact, sometimes on the film strip, it even has the ability to choose options crop, and then you can choose which ratio. So the ratio is to do with, is the side at the side shorter, or at the bottom, is that shorter? So at the moment, we've got a long side on the horizontal and we've got a short side on the vertical. So let's show you this in real life with the What Is Framing. I am going to share my screen. Here we are. So let's get rid of that banner. And at the moment, this photo here of the flags is in landscape mode. But if I get my little crop tool, then you will see that currently I can change which bit of the photo I see. So if I do that, it will cut all of the rest out of it. But we don't necessarily have these tools in these apps, so I'm going to teach you how to do this in camera, because that's the equivalent of zooming in. You're getting closer and seeing a smaller bit of the photo, aren't you? So let's reset that to full size, because I was going to show you about landscape versus portraits. So if we turn this round, and then you can play with what you can actually see. Let me show you what's visible. There we go. If I pop that one up, do you see in the top right corner? That shows you what the cropped photo will look like. So as I move it along, it changes the look of the whole photo. So you can see we've got a tiny bit of flag top left corner. But then if I do this, we get two flags and so forth. So you can play with the composition, what the viewer sees. So you see the whole of the garden. You see what looks like this. You see the whole lot. But then, depending on how close you stand and which way you turn your camera, you can affect how much of that scene that somebody sees. Another version of this is if you cropped it square. So let's go and see the square version. There you go. So in square, it looks different again. So we could have the portrait, we could have the landscape. So landscape wide and thin, portrait tall and thin, and the square. So you get a choice of those. Let me get this back off. So when we're talking about how we're going to frame up our photo, that's what I'm talking about, what you see through the camera. So to finish up, I told you about getting some cardboard. So I've got the remains of a cereal box here, and I've just opened it up. So I've ripped down the side and I've cut off all of these flaps. You just want to get rid of them because you just want this square that's left in the middle, this rectangle even. One rectangle left in the middle. So we cut them off. Ta-da! Here's one I prepared earlier. And then we need to draw out some lines, measured an inch in from the edge. So what you do is an inch, 2.5 centimetres. I don't know if you're metric or imperial, but you get your ruler and you measure in 2.5 centimetres or an inch from the edge, and then put a little spot. Once you've got your little spot in, see that? Then you take all of the spots along the line. Oh, being left-handed, doing it with my right hand isn't working. And you line up them along the ruler. The card's slightly bent, so they're not quite lining up here, but when I do it on my desk, they will. And then we just draw along the line. So draw along the line. So you should have a box all the way around the edge of your cardboard. Now, what we are going for, what we are aiming for is to make something like, let's get this over here, get this on the screen to share. Come on, photo. Boom. What we're looking to do is make a frame a bit like this one. So you can see here that we have two pieces and they are like my fingers and they overlap, and you can change that frame to be square, to be portrait, or to be landscape, depending on how you tie them up. So what we're going to do is then aim to cut them out. So we have there's one more photo here. There we go. Do you see how at the edges, so we're going to cut off, but when we do this, we only want to cut one side longer and one side longer because you want two L shapes. So it's important. So I'll put this photo for reference on the post as well so you can see. And then the middle just completely cuts out because you don't need the middle anymore because we're going to use those two bits of cardboard. Then we're going to be able to cross them over. So let me just cut these here. So in order to remember, on my frame, I've put in one corner, I've put a little arrow, and in the other corner, I've put another little arrow, just so I remember that's the corner I don't want to cut into pieces, because I know me, I am slightly dyspraxic and dyslexic, and I am likely to cut the wrong bit when I'm trying to talk to you. So, cutting along my lines that I've drawn out, so those were, let's see, they were about an inch worth. You can make them bigger if you want, but the aim is to go for 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters. Okay, and then we cut it out. Now, as you can see here, I've cut all the way up this side, but I'm not going to cut it off. I need to then come acrossways, otherwise I won't get my L shape. And when you are doing this, the idea is that we are creating our own frame. Now, if you want to make it doubly strong and thick, all you need to do is use both sides of your breakfast cereal box and then glue them together. So you make two that are going to be... Now, do you see here, if I stop here, I could keep going around like all the way, but that wouldn't work because I need an L shape. So I'm going to cut this one off if I wasn't careful. But the problem then would be if I went off the end here, so I've done one off the end, that what happens is you end up with this one being a short one on both sides, and we need it to be one short and one long. So I'm going to stop there. And there we go. We've made my L shape. And I've not concentrated while I've been on here, and I've made the short side long and the long side short. So I'm going to have a really squiddly, I'll explain what I mean. If this is the whole piece of cardboard, what you want to do is actually extend this side to be the full length, and you want to cut off shorter the long side. I've done it the opposite way around. So instead of having one that is that wide, it's only this wide. But hey ho, there we go. I'm just going to have a really long and thin. His is more square, mine's more rectangle. And if I got elastic bands, my elastic band, you wrap it round over here, and then, hello, I have somebody watching. I cannot see who it is, but good to have you with us. And put the elastic band around the corner when you set it to where you want, or you can leave it loose, and we're just going to walk around and we're going to take a photo of something that interests us. So that might be out in the garden, you find some nature, you find the view, it might be looking down your street, it might be looking into your kitchen, your living room, your bedroom, it might be of your pile of your teddies or toys, whatever you want to photograph. You get to choose the subject, the thing you're photographing, and then you're going to look at it and you're going to move around and you're going to say, okay, well, if it's this way round, but what if I was to look through it as a square? And what if I was to look through it as, you can make a small portrait, or you can just turn it round. But we're going to look through and frame, so it helps you imagine what you are seeing, so you can work out whether you want to turn the camera around. So we're going to walk around with the cardboard, and when we find what we're looking at and go, yes, this works great as a landscape or a portrait or a square, it helps you just tune in. So when your camera's up to your face, you can't see the whole view. Whereas with this, you can see around the edges. Do you see how just here this chap has got some sky and some trees? So he could look past that and go, when the camera's up at your face or you're looking at your phone, you can't really notice that. But if you're looking at the cardboard, you can. So I can see there's two people just here running down the side. And I could go, oh, I don't want them to be out of the photo. I'll move it over slightly. So this helps us to see the photo we're taking. So I want you to think about taking one photo that is landscape, one photo that is portrait, like I showed you on the demonstration with my crop. You can do that by turning the camera around. And if you have the ability and you can find an app that will chop your photo square for you. I'd like you to have one square. Or what you can alternatively do is take it as a landscape or a portrait, but centre it into the middle and say, I would chop the top and the bottom off, or I would chop the left and the right off. This would be a good square photo. So if you can give me an example of a landscape, a portrait, and a square photo like we showed you before, that would be awesome. So that's your challenge for today. And I can't wait to see your photos. Again, in the units, we will post a tab that says challenge day 2 on your framing. And that's where I want you to post the photos that you make. So, any questions? Anything I can help you with? I know you missed the first bit which showed the discussion, because I have this amazing power if you comment on Facebook to put that up on the post, maybe tomorrow. I'll try and schedule when I'm going to do this training video for tomorrow, and otherwise have a great day, evening, morning, whatever time zone you're in, and we will see you for the call. Now, it's going to be slightly different. I'm going to send you the link to come and jump on StreamYard with me, unless we get more people in, because while there's 5 or 6 of us, this is actually much easier to get into than Zoom. You just get given an internet link, you click on it, and it opens you in. So I'm going to give that a go, unless anybody has a reason not for doing that, in which case just comment on the video and let me know, or send me a direct message on Facebook. Otherwise, have a great day. Bye for now.